Battle through the heavens, grand world. Chapter 88 Success. The exquisite fire lotus was completely golden in color. It was as if it was carved out of jade, crystal clear and translucent. It was as if a lotus had emerged from the water, and the carvings were naturally removed. However, underneath the exquisite surface, there was a vast aura of destruction. As the fire lotus rotated, the space beside it and you were destroyed along with it. Waves of heart-shaking ripples spread out like a sickle that could take one's life. It was breathtaking. Wu Zixin's body stiffened slightly. His face was filled with terror as he looked at the pale face of Xiaoyan. His heart was filled with panic. Retreat. With an angry shout, Wu Zixin turned around and tried to escape. This fire lotus had given him a tremendous amount of pressure and terror. Go! Xiaoyan revealed a mocking expression. His hand gently landed. The fire lotus in his hand was just like an arrow that was released from a bow as it quietly cut through the space. Wherever the fire lotus passed, the space would be destroyed one after another. A shocking space black hole flashed and disappeared. In an instant, the fire lotus had arrived beside Wu Zixin and the others. Everyone was frightened when they sensed the destructive aura on the fire lotus. Li Hong, whose strength was second only to Wu Zixin, had lost a large amount of his origin monarch ki during the battle with the Xiaoao. He had become the last one to retreat with Wu Zixin. The fire lotus that was rushing over from behind caused him to feel a threat of death. The fire lotus's speed was like a shooting star. In the blink of an eye, it had caught up with the few people who were running away. It was as if a rock had been thrown into a calm water surface, and it instantly rippled with death ripples. Bang! A bright light flashed across the surface of the fire lotus. In the next moment, a loud explosion that shook the sky erupted. The scarlet golden ripples could be seen with the naked eye. Circles of ripples rushed out in all directions, and an unparalleled power instantly turned the mountain walls on both sides into ashes. Rumble! The soaring smoke rose into the clouds. The lazy white clouds in the sky were torn apart. The ground shook violently, rocks flew everywhere, and ancient trees pierced through the air. The heat waves from the explosion spread for several miles, turning everything into ashes. Xiaoyan, who was sent flying by the explosion, crashed into the mountain wall. His weak body could no longer hold on, and he fell to the ground. Blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, and his face was extremely pale. Even so, Xiaoyan's eyes were still bright as he stared at the center of the explosion. His heart was filled with regret. This time, he was afraid that he would not be able to protect the Saint-grade monarch skill. Damn it! Zhou Yuan, who had fled not far away, felt a huge impact that almost broke through the sky. He was shocked. He had underestimated the power of Xiaoyan's trump card. The violent impact arrived in an instant. Zhou Yuan was sent flying hundreds of meters away before he could defend himself. His head hit a huge rock and he fainted. The smoke that filled the sky only slowly scattered after a moment. What entered his eyes was a desolate land. The mountain walls on both sides had already disappeared. A large piece of scorched earth appeared. Wu Zixin and the rest had already completely turned into ashes. The power of the Buddha Fury Fire Lotus that was merged with the Monarch Flame did not disappoint Xiaoyan. The power that was created in front of him also made him quite satisfied. The Xiaoao had already turned into a cluster of fire and entered his body. In Xiaoyan's senses, the Xiaoao was currently riddled with injuries and needed a long period of recuperation within the Emperor Fire Source. Struggling to stand up, Xiaoyan turned around and looked at Mount Daqing behind him. He knew that he couldn't stay here any longer. If any heavenly beast was attracted by the explosion, he would have no way to escape. What a pity, that saint-grade monarch skill. Recovering from his thoughts, Xiaoyan muttered to himself regretfully. Just as he was about to leave, his eyes were suddenly attracted by the bright dark golden light at the center of the explosion. Xiaoyan's heart skipped a beat, and he dragged his injured body to the place where the light was coming from. When he saw the light clearly, he was immediately overjoyed. He saw a dark golden scroll lying quietly on the ground. On the scroll, the dark golden light formed a protective shield that flowed like flowing water. The violent explosion just now had no injuries at all. As expected of the saint-grade monarch skill, Xiaoyan was surprised and happy. He picked up the scroll with a slight tremble. The bright dark golden light that was in his hand immediately dissipated, and the smooth scroll lay quietly in Xiaoyan's hand. Phew! Xiaoyan took a long breath to calm his excitement. He put the scroll back into his storage ring and looked around. There was no sign of Zhou Yuan, and his soul power could not sense any trace of Zhou Yuan. Could he be dead? Xiao Yan shook his head as soon as this thought appeared in his mind. With that fellow's shrewdness, how could he die just like that? After calming down, Xiao Yan threw a medicine pill that could restore medicine pills into his mouth. Without any time to absorb it, he quickly left this place. At the same time, his soul energy surrounded his body. The prestige power spell was also unleashed, completely concealing his aura. Around an hour later, a ray of light suddenly flashed across the quiet sky. The ray of light scattered, and the figure of a white-haired old man wearing a gray robe slowly appeared. The white-haired old man carefully looked at the scene of destruction below. His eyes revealed a shocked expression as he mumbled, "Look at this destructive force. Could it be that there was an Emperor cultivation-level warrior fighting here just now?" After observing for a moment, the white-haired old man shook his head in denial. He lifted his head and looked at his surroundings. With both of his eyes closed, the powerful Origin Monarch Key had already soared into the sky. The Origin Monarch Key, which seemed to have gained corporeal form, swiftly swept across this place. A moment later, the white-haired old man opened his eyes. His eyes were filled with doubt. After which, he shook his head helplessly. He was just about to leave when he suddenly cried out in surprise. His body flashed and he appeared beside the unconscious Zhou Yuan. "There is actually an Emperor Master here." The white-haired old man looked at the unconscious Zhou Yuan. His hand was placed on the latter's head. He carefully sensed it and said in surprise, "What a young fellow. There is actually such a powerful aura within his body. Could it be that the fighting monarch of lower realm has advanced?" After pondering for a moment, the white-haired old man lifted Zhou Yuan up and said with a smile, "It just so happens that an old friend of mine in the star field keeps telling me that he wants a good disciple. Since it is the advancement of the fighting monarch of lower realm, I believe that his disposition is not bad. This can also be considered your lucky chance." As he spoke, the white-haired old man had already soared into the sky. With a sway of his body, he had already left this place with Zhou Yuan. Xiao Yan, who was far away from the valley where the battle was taking place, dragged his wounded body along as he ran. Finally, he arrived at a dense and uninhabited forest. This was the closest city to this place. Four Direction City was only half a day's journey. Standing on the plains outside the dense forest, one could see the sparse villages as far as the eye could see. Leaning against the trunk of an ancient tree, Xiao Yan powerlessly sat down. Feeling the weakness in his body, Xiao Yan rolled his eyes and used the Buddha Fury Fire Lotus. It didn't consume too much of his body, but the most important thing was the damage of the prestige power spell. The pain that penetrated deep into his soul caused his entire body to instinctively feel pain. "No, I have to think of a way. Otherwise, it won't be a problem for this thing to keep going crazy," he muttered to himself. Xiao Yan flipped his palm, and a dark golden scroll appeared in his hand. Xiao Yan looked at the scroll in his hand, and his eyes instantly became fiery. He had heard about the rarity and power of the Saint-grade monarch skill from Elder Yi when he was in the illusion realm. The raw materials of the blue flame ruler, the gray flame iron, were about the same as the Saint-grade monarch skill. The blue flame ruler that was formed was only stronger than a spiritual weapon. If he could learn this Saint-grade monarch skill, its power wouldn't be weaker than the Buddha Fury Fire Lotus. It's a pity that those monarch crystals and those spirit weapons are useless. Thinking of this, Xiao Yan let out a light sigh. He didn't expect that the Buddha Fury Fire Lotus fused with the monarch flame would be so powerful that it could destroy everything, including the indestructible storage ring. Only the Saint-grade monarch skill was preserved with its powerful ability. Holding the dark golden scroll, Xiao Yan placed it between his eyebrows. His soul power flowed out and poured into the scroll. The soul energy easily entered the scroll. While Xiao Yan was surprised, the scene in his mind changed. Instantly, a vast world appeared in his mind. Immediately after, an incomparably vast force surged from all directions, as if piercing through the blue sky and crushing down on Xiao Yan. Wu! Caught off guard, Xiao Yan's soul force was violently struck. Xiao Yan's face turned even paler. A trace of blood quietly flowed out from his ears. Luckily, he had been continuously tempered by the prestige power spell. Xiao Yan's soul force only trembled for a moment before it recovered. After that, the prestige power spell that was closely related to his soul force suddenly erupted, resisting this holy might. After fighting for a moment, this holy power suddenly disappeared. Under Xiaoyan's surprised gaze, a red-haired boy with a cold expression slowly appeared. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.